Did you know that your period doesn't have to put a period on your plans? Let's chat about it. Hey y'all, I'm at my desk today, which means it is time for a real deal conversation about a fairly serious matter, a menstrual matter. Periods, cycles, ain't flow, or as I like to call it, the monthly oven cleaning cycle. Whatever floats your boat. We are here to talk about menstrual health, and I want to share and introduce to you all a product that actually changed my menstrual life for the better, and that is the Intimina Ziggy Cup. And I want to thank my sponsor today, Intimina, for sending me their new and improved Ziggy Cup 2 to try and review for you guys. So let's talk about how I got into menstrual cups and how I stumbled upon Ziggy. So a few years ago, I was getting ready to go on a vacation with my family to a race in Florida. So I knew that I was going to be in a situation where I might be out for a long time and not have good access to a bathroom where I could, change things out. I knew I would be going swimming and wanting to be on the beach. And I was just ready for something better than pads and tampons. So I went out on a limb, did a little research, and tried disposable discs for the first time, and I was hooked. At that point, I knew I was never going back to pads or tampons. But after a while of buying those every month, I felt like I was ready to get into something reusable. So I tried a regular dome or bell-shaped cup that you see sometimes on the shelves in the grocery stores or at Walgreens or whatever. And it wasn't particularly right for me. I didn't like the process of inserting it. I didn't like how it felt wearing it. I didn't like the process of removing it. It just was not for me. So I went back to the disposable discs until I stumbled upon this guy, the Intimina Ziggy Cup. And it was the perfect happy medium between my disposable discs that were shaped like this and something reusable that I did not have to throw away. So I've been using my Ziggy Cup now for about a year, and I love it. I love it. It's the only thing I use. So I was really excited to hear that Intimina has taken this and made some improvements. So they have just launched the second generation, the Ziggy Cup 2. And the Ziggy Cup 2 makes some improvements upon Ziggy Cup 1 in both how it's made, how it's worn, and what it allows us to do. So while we are talking about the cup, I want to dispel some common myths about periods and about menstrual cups. So the first myth I want to dispel is the fact that your period, or the idea that your period has to completely bring your life to a screeching, grinding halt. Just call it in, cancel all of your plans, forget about it. And I think a lot of that is based on how we've been conditioned to think about our menstrual cycles. Even though it's something that comes every month to every menstruating woman, we are taught that it's unnatural and that it's icky and you shouldn't talk about it and you should hide under a rock or in a bell tower like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. You know, that it's nothing, that it's an item of shame. And it's also, I think, because of the products that we are traditionally used to wearing, like pads. Y'all, most of us started off with pads. They're uncomfortable to wear. They kind of feel gross. They can be odoriferous if you're not careful. And they get stuck to things that they should not get stuck to. And there's even a generation older than me that remembers when pads had belts on them. And if you're watching and you're seasoned enough to remember that, please drop down in my comments. I am so curious to hear your stories. But anyway, you had pads and then you graduated up to tampons that were a little bit better, but you still had the string, you had potential for leaking, discomfort, and the risk of toxic shock syndrome. So you just, if you didn't know about other options, it just became something that you accepted. This is your life. You won't have a life during your period. But introducing a menstrual cup like the Ziggy Cup really does give you a lot of your freedom back. Like, looking at this design, it's really, really thin. Like, it's pedal thin. It's very comfortable to wear. It has a double rim on it so that it's pretty much leak proof if you're wearing it correctly. And it's flat and stemless, which means you can have mess-free sexual relations. So in theory, you could get jiggy while wearing your Ziggy. And I was gonna say we're all grown here, but maybe we aren't all grown here, and that's okay. If you're a young person watching this video, I'm gonna encourage you to hang around and stay through the rest of the video. If you got questions, drop them down in the comments, and hopefully some of us internet aunties can give you some sound, medically correct advice in these areas. We can share with you what we know, as we should be sharing with you what we know. So I say that to say that it doesn't have to completely bring your life to a screeching, grinding halt. It doesn't have to. There are more options out there than what we had before, and just be open. Just be open. Okay? The second myth I want to dispel is that that's too small to like hold all of my fluid. Like, my flow is way too heavy for that. Let's do an experiment, shall we? So I have both my cups here, Ziggy size A and Ziggy size B. I've got some water, and I also have this measuring cup that happens to have milliliter markings on it, which is the measurement that Intimina used on these cups. So, the unit of measurement rather. I am going to take this water and I'm going to fill this as far as I can without it getting away from me, because in theory we wouldn't be wearing this until it's overflowing anyway, but I'll get pretty close to the top. Then I'm going to take my cup and I am going to empty it into my cylinder here, and we'll see what it reads. Right at 50. Very good. And I will repeat the same experiment with Ziggy size B. This one I won't go as far probably to the top because it will get away from you. All right, so that's full. Careful, careful, careful. I'm already spilling. Let's see what we got. 70 plus whatever I just dripped, which is very good because Intimina claims that the capacity on size A is 50 milliliters and the capacity on size B is 76 milliliters. So if your flow is on the heavier side, don't worry too much about this guy not being able to hold everything. This is quite a bit of liquid. And the beauty of a menstrual disc or cup is that instead of running through pads and tampons every couple of hours all day and throwing them away, you've got this that you can empty and reinsert. And I would imagine that you would be able to buy a lot more time in one of these than you would your traditional menstrual products. So, as you can see, the Ziggy Cup is designed to accommodate you whether your flow is light, medium, or heavy. And speaking of that, the Ziggy Cup now comes in two sizes. When I first started using this one, it was just the one size, but now it comes in two sizes, size A and size B, that have the two capacities, as you just saw in the exercise. There are some noticeable differences just looking at the two cups, the old one and the new one. This is the old one. It kind of has like a triangular type situation going, like it's not completely round, whereas the new one is completely round and it has a slightly smaller profile. Also, Intimina has dedicated themselves to being a little more environmentally conscious, which in all actuality, using cups, a reusable one, period, no pun intended, is more eco-conscious than continually throwing pads and tampons away multiple times a day for multiple days every month. So the packaging, they've changed the packaging. I will try to insert a photo somewhere in here to show you what the old packaging looked like. It was plastic. It was really kind of cool looking, but a whole lot of extra materials and packaging that we probably could have done without. Now, the Ziggy Cup comes in this cardboard carton, which I'm sure is recyclable. Yes, it's got the little recycle symbol. It's recyclable. Also, instead of coming in this nifty silicone pouch, it now comes in a fabric pouch. I'm gonna be honest, I do at first glance miss this guy. I really loved having this silicone sleeve to store my pouch in, but this will do just fine, not a problem. So what I'm gonna do is test drive this particular version of the Ziggy Cup, and I will meet y'all downstairs so we can talk about it. Okay, so it is day one and it's time for me to start my test drive of the Ziggy Cup 2. And again, it comes in two sizes, so my first order of business is figuring out which one of these will work best for me. Now, recall in the video I mentioned that the Ziggy Cup is sized A and B based on your cervical length as well as your flow, which I really like, because other cups, they'll sometimes have like a scale if you're under 30 and you've never had a baby, and then they'll have another size that is you're over 30 or you have had a baby. And for me, I don't fit into either of those Venn diagrams. There's no overlap because I am over 30 and I have not yet birthed a child. So I've been confused in the past about which one of those is correct. So it's nice to have a little more universal sizing on these cups in terms of figuring it out. Also, remember that I mentioned cervical length, and for me, how it seemed like the cup changed how it felt inside over the course of my period. Well, today I learned that your cervical position actually changes throughout your hormonal cycle. So when you are ovulating or close to ovulation, your cervix will be higher and softer, and it'll be lower and firmer during and immediately after your period until it's time to ovulate again. So I did a little research, and from what I read, determining if your cervix is high or low, you can kind of figure that out at home doing a little digging. You can wash your hands really, really well, trim your nails and clean them really, really well, and insert a finger into your vagina. If you put it in, and you can put it all the way in and not reach your cervix, if you get down to that first knuckle, then your cervix is probably high. The second knuckle, and this is by no means scientific, but a reference, the second knuckle, normal, which would be a length of perhaps about 2.25 inches. And if you can't go that far down, then your cervix is probably low, 2.25 inches or less. So that's just, I won't say a rule of thumb, a hint at how you can kind of determine where your cervix generally sits or where it's sitting in a particular span of time. So I am going to probably go ahead and try the big one first. It is day one. My flow should be relatively like medium to heavy, and normally I have an easier time getting my normal Ziggy, my Ziggy 1 that is around this size, in pretty well. And I will come back tomorrow and tell you all how it went. Top of the morning, y'all. It's the morning of day 3. I've been wearing Ziggy Cup 2 size B for the past couple of days, and so far it is working pretty well for me. I think the round design, as I suspected, is making it ever so slightly more comfortable to wear. Also, I haven't had any leaks so far, which is good, and it's been easy to insert and remove. Speaking of inserting and removing, I want to give you all a couple tips for that process if you're not familiar. So, first things first, you got your cup. One thing that is new on Ziggy Cup 2 that wasn't on Ziggy Cup 1 is this little guy right here, these little markings, this tab, which is really neat because, no lie, when I first got my old Ziggy Cup, I was confused about what direction this is supposed to go in. So this is the front of your cup. You can put it in sitting on the toilet. You can put it in, some people like to lay down. I personally prefer to do it in the shower with one leg up. I like to actually insert in the shower, empty in the toilet. That's just the easiest workflow for me. So you've got this guy, and you are supposed to squeeze it and insert it into your vaginal canal. Now, old habits die hard. This is my rudimentary visual aid here. So let's say that this is the opening of our vagina and this tube on the inside is our cervix, okay? The natural inclination is to take this is the front, to squeeze it and go like straight up into our vagina, right? But the object here isn't to plug things up. If you do it that way, you're just gonna have a mess on your hand and a cup just sitting in there, doing nothing. The idea here at the end of the day is that we want this covering our cervix and collecting all our menstrual fluid, right? So instead of going straight in, parallel to our vagina, what you want to do is take this cup, aim it down toward your tailbone, down toward the back, and tuck it up behind your pubic bone. So again, this is a really rudimentary aid. What you should have, if you have it in correctly, is something like this. This is our cervix. This is our cup covering up and completely dry and free down here in our vaginal opening. When you get ready to remove it, you're going to take your finger and you're going to hook it behind the rim of your cup and just pull it out and empty it. I hope that helps, but just the main points to remember is that this is the front. You want to aim down, not straight in, and when you're done, another thing, when you get ready to pull it out, if you're having trouble freeing the cup, push down a little bit like you are pooping. Just push down, create a little bit of pressure, and that will help you find the front, find the rim, and get it out. I find that the further I go along in my cycle, the harder it is to get it out. Like the suction tends to be a lot more over time, but pressing down gently using those muscles down there will help you catch the front and pull it out. So I will come back and let you know how it goes later on in the week. Hey y'all, it's the morning of day 4 and I can say so far I'm continuing to enjoy my size B Ziggy Cup. But this morning I noticed that it was a little bit more difficult to remove, and I'm starting to feel a little bit more pressure on or around my cervix, and I am just thinking hypothetically that is because the length of my cervix is changing as I expected over the course of my period. So I could very well go the entire length of time with my Ziggy size B, much like I have been with my Ziggy 1.0 this entire time. But I think that I will switch maybe tonight to the A-sized Ziggy since I have it, and try that out for size and see how it goes. Hey y'all, it's day 5, and as I suspected, the smaller size Ziggy Cup, the A size, did work a little bit better for me yesterday. I am still feeling an ever so little bit of pressure, but it's nothing insurmountable, so to speak. I could definitely have continued to wear the larger size as I have in the past, but having the smaller size did give me a little bit more comfort. And I can say that wearing a cup in general just has made me a little bit more aware of what's going on inside my body and a little bit more tuned in to the changes, which is really, really neat. So I will come back shortly with my final review of the Ziggy Cup 2. So y'all just saw how my week went, how my experience was with the new Ziggy Cup 2. Overall, I will say that the new Ziggy Cup is a little bit more comfortable to wear than the old one, most likely due to the smaller profile or the different shape of it. I do like the fact that it comes in 2 sizes instead of 1. So definitely a wonderful improvement. I still can recommend it and look forward to using my new Ziggy Cups again next month. So if I had to give it a verdict, I would give it a high and mighty. I was able to go on about my week uneventfully with no leaks, no accidents. I've been able to exercise and go and do my thing without a care in the world. So if you're interested in purchasing the new Ziggy Cup, you can visit Intimina.com. I will drop a link down in the description bar to it. And in the grand scheme of things, y'all, if I bought a box of tampons and had to do the ones that had all of the different absorbencies, plus maybe some panty liners, every month for a year, I will have more than paid for one of these. So think of it as a worthwhile investment because you can actually use this for up to 2 years. You can use it for up to 2 years. Also, I would say if you can swing both the large and the small size, it's great to be able to manage the changes just like you saw in my test drive. So you guys, let me know what you think. If you have tried menstrual cups, if you've tried the Ziggy Cup, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. There are some people that might click on this video and feel like it's TMI. Well, I would argue the opposite. It's not too much information. There's not enough information going around about these topics. I hope that by starting this dialogue with you today, that thing that is so normal to us, that happens to us every month for many, many years of our lives, becomes more normal and more comfortable for you to talk about amongst yourselves. So I hope that you leave here today more empowered to take command of your reproductive health and of your menstruating life. With that being said, I hope the information you got today empowers you, whether you're on your period or not, to do what you love what you do, and keep on sharing. And I'll see you guys for the next one.